Hi, horse friends. Cheryl McNamee here. Welcome to my first session with a new Mustang. This is a 10-year-old mare from the South Steens Mountain in Oregon. One of the photographers that took pictures of her named her Aura. She's also now known as Willow, which is the name that she was given by the woman who purchased her. So Aura was rounded up in September of 2022 and auctioned off in the Bureau of Land Management's internet auction in the late January 2023. She was purchased by a woman in Idaho who has done a lot of her initial gentling and has begun halter breaking her. And in the same auction, I adopted the stallion named Silvio, who was running with Aura since he was born 7 years ago. So he's known her his whole life. And the roundup kind of split up their little family. And almost a year later, I was offered to purchase her, to reunite her with Silvio. So up until now, she's learned to accept touch and has been haltered. She's also been led around in a large stall. So this paddock that she's in is much larger than the space that she had where she came from. And since she's only had one other person handling her and she's learned only to trust that person, she's very shy and elusive at first with me. I've also been informed that she's difficult to halter. So once the halter went on, it stayed on. And in this session, I'm going to work through that elusiveness and try to get her to engage with me. And my only goal today is to get her halter off because I just don't like leaving halters on any horse. And especially with wild horses, if she were to start itching her face on the metal panels and got her halter hooked onto it, she could panic and the panels could move and collapse towards her. Another reason I want to remove her halters because I want to start from scratch with her and build up the trust between us until she chooses to come to me and put her face into a halter on her own because she wants to. So here, what I'm using the lunge whip for, I'm not even touching her with it. I'm just kind of swinging it in the air, and every time she turns and gives me both eyes, I stop and I back off. And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm trying to teach her to face up to me. So whenever I walk up and I make a kissing noise, like that's the cue for her to face up to me. And she doesn't know that yet. But so what I'm doing is I'm just being annoying with the whip. I'm just kind of swinging it and trying to get her attention. And then as soon as she turns both eyes towards me, then I'll stop and back up and kind of turn away from her a little bit so that she knows that was exactly what I wanted. Just takes the annoying pressure off of her. So right here, she's going to turn and face me in a second. So here I'm just getting a little more annoying. I'm kind of swinging the whip like, hey, look at me, look at me. And then she looks at me and I back off. And then she looks away, so I get annoying again. I'm just kind of making noise and I'm kissing to her. And then she looks at me and I back up. So now she's starting to get it. She's starting to go, oh, okay. So when she's being annoying, I just need to turn and look at her, and that's all. So now I'm just approaching her, and I'm just putting my hand out to see if she'll reach out and sniff it. And she's done all of this before with another trainer. She just trusts that trainer and hasn't really worked with anyone else yet. So I'm just showing her that I'm the same and she can trust me too. So she touches me there and I back off to reward her for that. And I grab a carrot and then I step forward again and I hand her the carrot. So I don't like to give carrots as bribes. I try to always ask the horse to do something. So they're doing some sort of a job or some sort of work in order to earn the carrot. And the carrot is used like a paycheck. So I don't hold it out in front of the horse saying, come here, come and get it. Instead, I ask them to do something, and then when they do that thing correctly, then they get the carrot immediately as a paycheck. So here I was just switching out my lunge whip for a ribbon wand. I thought it might be a little bit more effective at, getting her attention when I'm trying to be annoying. But I end up not really using it because she's already understanding what I want. So here I kiss to her and she faces me. She's got a lot of flies on her though, so you'll notice throughout this whole session, sometimes she'll stop and she'll be, biting at flies on her or be irritated by it. And I just wait and I'm patient with her until she's done swatting away the fly and then she's ready to engage again. And now I know you can't hear my verbal cues, but what I'm doing is I'm reaching my hand out and I'm saying touch. And then I just very lightly touch her nose. And then I say good. And I give her a carrot after that. And I'm just repeating that over and over. And then each time I touch her, I go up a little bit higher. So I say touch, good, and then give her a carrot. And eventually I'm reaching all the way up by her ears. I'm reaching around the side by her cheek. And each time she lets me touch her, she gets a paycheck. She gets the carrot. And I'm making sure to put a verbal cue to it. So when I touch her, I say touch. And that way she associates that with the physical sensation of touching something. And so once I get the halter off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the halter and say touch. And, and that's basically how I teach a horse to halter themselves, especially horses that are difficult to halter or don't like to be caught. It just kind of teaches them to do it themselves. You just hold the halter up and they stick their face into it. So I just keep repeating. Say touch. Sometimes I keep my hand on her for just a couple seconds longer so that we're building up a little bit of endurance with the touch. And she's really loving all of this because obviously she loves carrots. So there I just kept my hand on her a little bit longer. And then after like 2 seconds, I slid my hand down her nose in a rub and then said good and gave her a carrot. And the repetition here is important. So right now I'm just kind of priming her for what I'm going to be asking her to do next. And I already know that she doesn't really like to be touched on her face. She doesn't like to be haltered. So here I'm just showing her that she gets rewarded when she lets me touch her face. Now, if this was a completely wild horse that didn't have any handling before, this phase I might do over the course of 2 or 3 sessions. So with her, it only takes a few minutes because she's already gone through all of this with another trainer. And so here she's just learning that she can trust me the same way that she trusted another person. Now here I just wanted to zoom in a little bit so you can see how I'm just touching her gently on her cheek. And I'm just letting my hand linger there for a little bit, just a couple seconds. And I'm kind of grabbing the buckle on her halter and then saying good and giving her a carrot. And I'm just about running out of carrots here. So I'm going to have to go get some. And there I just kind of move the halter around a little bit so that she can get used to the to what's coming up, which is going to be removing the halter. And now I'm just going to grab some more carrots. I wasn't sure how far I was going to get in this first session, so I only put, a handful of carrots in my little fanny pack. And so we're making some really great progress here. So I went ahead and dumped the rest of the bag of carrots in there. And this is kind of a good opportunity also to see if she remembers what I just taught her about turning and facing me. And the reason I teach the horse to turn and face me as the very first thing, always, no matter what horse, whether it's a wild horse or a domesticated horse, if I'm working with a horse, the first thing they learn is that when I kiss to them, they immediately turn to face me because if they're not facing me, then they're ignoring me. And if they're ignoring me, then we can't have a conversation. So I'm saying, hey, pay attention to me. And she remembered. She turned right around. She came up. I said, touch. And I held up my hand. She touched. I said, good. And then gave her a carrot. So everything that I had just done with her, she remembered after I walked away and came back. And you'll notice that there are several times where I do walk away and I come back later on once I'm working on, putting the halter back on and off, on and off. I'll stop and take a few steps with her here and there because that's the beginning of leading and teaching her to follow with me when I give her a hand cue to follow with me. So I'm about ready to take the halter off here. I think I actually undo the clip. Yep, I just undid the clip, so it's kind of hanging. And next she's going to need to allow me to touch up by her ears so that I can pull the halter off over her ears. So I'm just touching her up there, up by her forelock, and then I say good, and I give her a treat. And every single time I touch her, I say touch. And the reason for that is because I'm just conditioning her so that when she hears that word, she knows that either I'm going to touch her or she needs to touch something. And then here comes the halter right off. And I tell her good, and I give her another treat. And then I hold it up and let her touch it, sniff it, and give her another treat. Hold it up again. And so now I am basically touching it to her nose as I'm saying touch, and then I'm giving her a carrot as a reward for letting me touch her with it. So at this point, I'm the one doing the touching. And in a little bit, I'm going to ask her to be the one to do the touching. So right here, I say touch, and I just barely booped her with it and then gave her a treat. And I'll just keep repeating this. And see there, she stuck her nose kind of into it. And then I gave her a treat. And I'm alternating too. So here I'm just touching her gently and then give her a treat. And I'm realizing, okay, I don't even need my whip with the ribbon there. With a new horse, I always try to have, a whip or a ribbon or something until I know that they're not going to whip around and double barrel me with their hind feet or something like that. And so here she's being a little elusive with it. So as soon as she did let me touch her nose there, I said good, and I gave her a treat. And so now she's starting to associate the word good with receiving treats. So some people use a cluck sound like when they're indicating that the horse did the right thing and a treat is coming. And I also do that. I like to start with the word good at first because when people are working with horses, most people just kind of instinctively say, good boy or good girl. So I want her to understand what that word means. that it means that she's doing the right thing. And later on, I'll introduce a cluck as the marker for, good behavior. And so here she's starting to get a little bit more relaxed, and I'm just repeating this over and over and over. So now she's letting me kind of touch and rub her face. I hold it up and I say touch, and then I rub it down her nose, and I say good, and I give her a carrot. And she's, a little uneasy. So when I first start to bring it up, you could see her head raise up. And, that means she's a little bit uneasy about it. And she did really great. So I just walked away to give her a little break for a second. And then she says, hey, I kind of want to engage with you again. So I said, touch, and I touched her. And then I gave her another carrot. And then the halter again. I said, touch. And she lowered her head. And that's when I gave her the carrot. So now it's not just a touch. Now I want her to also start to lower her head a little bit. So see how she goes up, and then I'm holding the halter, and then she kind of came down a little bit and then stood still while I touched her. So that's when I said good and gave her the carrot. So here her head goes up, and I just hold it. She's just being goofy there. And I just hold the halter. I wait until, there you go. She put her head down, and that's when I said good and gave her the carrot. Ultimately, I don't want to be able to hold it up so high. I want to be able to hold it right about there where I'm holding it. I want her to put her head down into it. And now this is really nice. I walk away and she decides to follow me. So she's connecting with me. She's understanding that when she works with me and she's doing the things that I'm asking her to do, she gets rewards. And here, this is my cue that I give to all my horses when I want them to come. I just kiss them and I, kind of do a come hither with my hand. And she listened. So I said, good. I gave her the treat. And then we're back to the halter again. And you'll notice several times here while I'm trying to ask her to put her nose into the halter, she's trying to bite at flies that are landing on her. There were a couple of bumblebees for some reason that were just all over her pasterns. I'm not sure why. I've never actually seen bumblebees just hover around a horse's pasterns like that before. But they were just really tickling her and kind of, upsetting her. And every time she goes, to bite at a fly or to stomp or she's, showing irritation, I just wait for her. Like right there, she needed to get something off her leg. I said, okay, I'm here when you come back and you're ready. I think that a lot of times when people are trying to get their hands on a horse, as soon as they are able to touch the horse once or twice, they tend to get really overwhelming with it real quick. And then the horse is like, oh, no, that's too much. And they just kind of want to run away. So that's also why I teach the face up first, because if she does get uncomfortable and she needs to walk away, she can do that. And then I just get annoying again and I keep asking her to face up until she does. So you can't really go backwards from there. At this point, we're just going to keep moving forwards with more touching and haltering being easier and easier. See, now she's okay. So this is a new technique that I haven't shown yet in the video. This is the first time I'm doing it. Now that she's letting me put the halter, over her nose, I want her to put her mouth down through the nose piece. And I show her how to do that, I think like 3 or 4 times by holding the carrot through the nose piece until she reaches through to grab it. Now here, she doesn't know how to back up yet. And so I'm just kind of saying, okay, back up. And she doesn't. So then I say, okay, I'm going to do it with touch. So I keep wiggling my hand and I'm just kind of pushing on her with my left hand a little bit until she rocks back. There she goes. And then I say, good girl, and I give her a treat. So now that she's really catching on to the touching and the haltering, I'm starting to alternate it with some other things like backing up. And then I just came back to doing the haltering again. So there's just a lot of repetition here. And this is the part that can be boring for some people. And, you know, you have to have patience here and you have to be able to have that patience to just keep doing the same thing over and over. No, that was perfect. She put her nose straight into it, and then I gave her a treat afterwards. And there she didn't put her nose through, so I just wait. And the more repetitions I do here, the easier it's going to be to walk in there tomorrow and just hold the halter up and have her basically halter herself. And so here now I'm asking her to walk with me, and I'm just holding my right hand out and I'm just kind of doing that come hither with my fingers. And then when I stop, I say, oh, that way she starts to get the verbal cue for that. And when she stops, I also say, good girl, and I give her a treat. And then we're back to working on the halter again when she's not trying to swat at bugs. And you'll notice that in between haltering, in between requests, I reach up. While she's eating on her carrot, I reach up and I pet her head. That way she's getting more used to me touching her face at the same time that she's learning how to halter herself. And her head is still up pretty high here. You know, over the next session or two, she'll start to get really relaxed with it. So now I'm mixing it up again, asking her to come with me and then asking her to halt. She gets a carrot for that. And here I'm just touching her gently on the face. So I know that she doesn't really like touching on the face so much. So I'm trying to be real gentle and delicate with my touches on her face for right now. So I don't pat her. I just rest my hand on there and, just give her a little bit of a rub without much pressure. And now I'm mixing it up a little bit and giving her some rubs on her neck. Back to the halter again. Her head's kind of going way up in the air and she's so upset with those bugs. So I'm just waiting and I say, okay, try again. And I can't wait until I can get some fly spray on her. But, at this point in the game, she's probably never had fly spray on. She's probably never, worked with that, or maybe hasn't even had a bath. I don't know. Um, so that will come in time. But at first, we need to work on connecting and haltering and just following some very basic cues, because in order for me to work on spraying her with fly spray, I need her to be able to listen to cues on the halter and to stay engaged with me and to trust me. And now there, I kind of just put the halter up over her nose, and then instead of putting the the crown piece over her ears. I just kind of rested it on her forehead in front of her ears. That's just the next step, and we're working our way up until I can just lift it right up over her ears. And I think I'll do that next session. I don't push it with this session because she is doing really great. And so, and it's a hot day. You can't tell from looking at the video, but it's about 100 degrees and humid. So I'm trying to keep everything low key and short for today. And she's done a lot better than I thought she was going to do. And we got some really good engagement. Here I'm just itching us kind of like a spot that has dried sweat. So it's a little itchy. And she's enjoying that. And I want her to know that it's not all work when she's with me, that sometimes, this is just let's hang out and, have grooming and scratches, and this can be pleasant. Scratches and grooming are kind of a nice way to end a session. You're just leaving the horse on a good note. You're leaving them with something pleasant. I'm sorry about the alarm in the background. My phone is sitting right next to the camera, and I'm supposed to be leaving soon, so that's what the alarm is telling me, to go pick up my kid from the babysitter. And I'm just kind of having a moment here with Aura, and I don't feel like walking away to turn the alarm off. And she's going to do something really cute here in just a second. So as I'm rubbing on her, she is going to reach around and try to put her nose in the halter, even though I'm not asking her to put her nose like right here. See, her head is around my backside, and I kind of, elbow her a little bit because I think that she's going for the treats, but she actually wasn't. She's trying to touch, see that? She's trying to put her nose right into the halter. And once I realized that, I turned around and I said, good, and I gave her a treat because I thought that was just so cute. She's just, you know, offering to do a good job for a carrot. And there, up over the ears and then off. And then good girl, give her a carrot. And here, I'm just kind of holding the halter and letting her choose whether or not she wants to put her nose in it for a treat. And she did, so I gave her a carrot. Oops, I dropped it. And of course, anytime I drop a carrot, I gotta wipe all the lime off of it. So now she's starting to just kind of go towards, she knows where the carrots are coming from. And so there were a couple of times where I just kind of tapped her on the nose, like, no, don't go there. But I'll show you how you can get a carrot and you can put your nose right in here. You can't get a carrot from digging in my pocket. You get a carrot from putting your nose in the halter. And she did, and then she got a carrot. And you'll notice here when I put my hand up to pet her, she thinks I'm coming with a carrot right here. And so instead of giving her a carrot, I'm switching my tactic here and I'm just saying, let me just touch your nose here for a second. And then once she lets me touch her nose without her trying to nip for a carrot, then she actually gets the carrot. So I don't want to give her a carrot when she's kind of like reaching towards me to nip for one. Right here, I'm just saying, let me touch your nose with my hand, and then I'll give you the carrot. And that's how they start to learn that sometimes when a hand comes towards them, it's for touching, sometimes it's with a carrot, and you need to stop and think about which is which. And here I'm just getting ready to leave. So I'm picking up my things, saying bye to her. And this ends session 1 with Hora. Now, ultimately, I want to reunite her with Silvio, my other Mustang, because the two of them were together in the wild for a long time, for I think almost all of his 7 years. She was there when he was born, and she was kind of like Auntie Aura to him. And it's said that he absolutely adored and hung out with all of her babies. Whether or not the two of them ever had a baby together is unknown. I suppose it's possible because he was, mature at some points while he was with her. But I don't know that for sure that he was ever or she was ever his mare. But I think they'll remember each other. And before I can put her out in the big pasture to be reunited with him, I need to know that I'm connecting with her, that she comes to me when I ask her to come to me, that she drops her head down into a halter, and she also needs to be fully halter broke so that I can lead her outside of this fence around the farm and know that she's going to stay with me and she's not going to pull back and try to run off. And once we get through all of that, then I can take her over to go see Silvio again, which will be pretty exciting. So if you stick around and follow her page or follow my YouTube channel, you'll be able to see that when they reunite. I'm definitely going to do a video. So like and subscribe, and we'll see you for the next session. Bye, horse friends.